Welcome to Career Conversations by Future Forward. I'm your host, Owen Burrell.
And I'm Micaela Tramontano.
And today we're here with the mayor.
Hi, I'm Mayor Jim Hagaman, mayor of this great city that we live in, Spring Hill, Tennessee. Love it.
I'm so glad.
So tell us a little bit like what you do as mayor.
So I am as the city has to, we're a city government, and we have all kinds of different shops, different departments that make up the way the city runs. And as the mayor, I'm an elected official, which means that there are 9 of us, which we call in our city the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And the elected officials basically make the laws of the city and decide how to spend the taxpayers' dollars. And then those laws are followed by the staff that are in the city and all across all the different spectrum of the departments.
That sounds really interesting. So what would you say is like the most rewarding part of your job?
So there are so many rewards in this job. I'm a guy who would rather spread love than hate, and one of the platforms that I get to do that on from the mayoral role is I like to recognize people publicly, especially people that aren't used to getting recognition, of the people that go above and beyond. And I do proclamations for different groups. I recognize different staff. I recognize different citizens that have done or continue to do outstanding things, and I bring them up in our bi-monthly meetings and say good things about them, and people clap or stand up, and I love doing that.
So was there anything like unexpected about your job that you didn't see coming and it like kind of took you off guard when it happened?
Well, I think that's the I think that's the case in every career that you go into. And this one, what was unexpected for me is that when I came into this career to be a civil servant 3.5 years ago, I had plans to do a couple of things, but there was an impediment to those plans, and that impediment was the law. And so when there are laws on the books that give certain groups or people rights, and I can't overcome them because that law is in the way, that's hard to do. So, for example, if there's a subdivision that's planned to go in, but it has not been built yet, and I think it's not a good idea to build it because of the infrastructure issues we have, I would like to stop that. But the law says I cannot because they have what's called vested rights. Mm-hmm. And so that's a dang it moment for me.
Yeah, it sounds like you have to deal with a lot of people skills, like you have to deal with people a lot. So how do you like really foster your people skills and try to like have good connections?
So I'm retired Air Force. I've served my country for 21 years, and during that time of service, I lived and have been to all over the world. So I've been in so many different cultures. I've had exposure to the good and the bad of humanity, the happy and the sad. And what I have learned, and because I'm a man of faith, I believe in God and Jesus, but because of all of those things, if you collectively put them together, I have learned that everyone, you, that gentleman off camera over there sitting in the chair, who's ever watching this on camera, everyone has value regardless of whether you're a he or a she, or whether you're have somebody with a professional title, or whether you're frontline staff, whatever your socioeconomic status is, if you're in the highest income tax bracket or you're on government sustenance, I believe everyone has value. And when I look at people, especially young people like y'all, and thank you for having me, I already am prefaced by, hey, you're a good person, you're a good person, you're a good person online. And so that's my mindset.
That's amazing to hear, especially like in this world with so much hate and division.
Right.
How do you overcome sometimes like if you want to have like, I don't want to say want to, but like if you have like a negative attitude towards something and like you said, you really positively value people. When you hear something negative about someone, how do you like overcome that and still be productive and go past that? So
with regards to negativity, I would rather spread love than hate. I believe I said that. And that's how my wife sometimes accuses me, oh, Jim, you look at life through rose glasses. I don't look at life through rose glasses because I've experienced a lot of life. And again, what I have learned is that what I said earlier, but in addition to that is often the barrier that causes people to be negative is basically just communication or ignorance. Ignorance in a good way meaning they just don't know. So if you take the time to listen and you take the time to explain, that often brings down the barriers and puts people off their guard so that you can have a communication, and whatever differences you may have, you can be at peace with those. And a lot of times the differences you may have, you find more commonality than in fact you have differences. And so that melds the relationship.
You're obviously very wise. Like hearing you speak, I can just tell like you've had like a lot of life experience, like you said. So can you tell us about your life experience and how you got to your position as mayor?
So I mentioned earlier that I was in the United States Air Force. I did that for 21 years. Glad to serve my country. All kinds of life experiences there, but that is, and I've went to the academy, the School of Hard Knocks, which means that's not a formal education, but you trial and error. I'm a guy who takes risks, but they're calculated risks, and so sometimes those don't always work out. So you learn the hard way. But I've also had the opportunity, because we live in such a great country, to go to one of the best universities in the world, and that's Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, where I got my first degree, and in every facet of life, if it's in college, if it's in tech school, if it's in any kind of skilled trade, if it's as we're sitting here right now, there's an opportunity to learn, and I'm a student of life, and when I take advantage of those opportunities, I get more experience, and those experiences allow me to, for me, it's in my DNA to want to serve. And so using all those previous experiences and wanting to serve, that propelled me into the role of being a civil servant, which is, in this case, the mayor.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to a student to like take the most of their opportunities they're given?
Yeah, so again, there's opportunities to do good and to do bad through your whole life. Regardless of how young or old you are, you can still learn and you can still do good in the world or for your own circle of influence, or you can do bad. And my advice to anyone, but certainly students, since that was the specific question, is that you students, you have life ahead of you. The whole world is at your feet. Someday you're going to be a leader. Someday you're going to be a leader, and people are going to follow you. And you want to have a legacy of why people follow you. Did they follow you for the right reasons, with integrity and honesty, or do they follow you for the bad reasons because it was the popular thing to do, and there's a lot of fallout and a lot of hurtness that went on with those followings? And so my counsel to everyone, but especially young people, is that find a mentor or several mentors in your life that are doing the right thing, and put together a collage, if you will, of why you want to kind of be like that person. For me, it's, my head person in my life is Jesus, and so my study book, the main one I have, is the Bible. But there are many people that have been placed in my life that I say, well, I'm going to be like that guy. I'm going to be like that girl. I'm definitely not going to be like that guy or that girl. And so it's mentorship and seeing what other people do, and then trial and error, practice it, glean from it. Yeah.
Have you ever been a mentor to someone?
Well, I believe I'm hopeful that I have been a mentor to several people along my decades of life. Certainly my children. I want them to say, hey, Dad, what would you do? Or if they're in some kind of issue in their life, say, well, I know my dad would do this because this is what he did in here. So that's kind of unspoken. But with the title, I belong to the Tennessee Achieves Mentor Program, and so that's pretty cool, where I get to help students get into college and stay into college to be qualified for, right here, the Tennessee Promise Scholarship. So I've been doing that for several years, and I continue to do that. And so it's all about doing the right thing. So yes.
You sound like a very passionate man who has very strong values. So can you tell us how you became, how you have these values and what these values mean to you?
So, thanks for the question. So again, through my life, and life, even though I'm accused of looking at life through rosy glasses, I have certainly seen and have been involved in things that are not good. In my 21 years in the Air Force, I saw some things of war, and I was when I first moved to Spring Hill, I became a firefighter and medic. And when you're a medic, you come across crashes and death, and people's lives that are just torn apart by, perhaps it's a tragedy, or it's a physical, they lose their house or something, or there's something because a tornado came or whatever. And as a result of those experiences, they just drive me to try to realize, be thankful that I perhaps have not been in that situation, but on the occasions that I have, in which I have, just to realize that, there's light at the end of the tunnel always, regardless of how bad it is in anyone's life. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's always someone that loves you. And so that's what I focus on.
Yeah. So was there any time at your job where you're worried that there wasn't going to be like that light at the end of the tunnel, or like more worrying moments?
So yeah, well, life is a cycle. It's cyclical, and there's hills and valleys, or peaks and valleys, better way to say it. And so when you're down in those valleys, when you're down and you have despair going on, that one person, and there's always one person in someone's life that loves you. If you look to that and they recognize that you're in a valley, that person can somehow say something or do something right. And it could be just an event, like you turn on the radio and they play a song, and it's a song of hope, or or you read something in a book, or you reflect upon perhaps a cartoon that you watched as a kid. So I can say that I have never been at a point in my life where I wanted to contemplate, ending my life, anything like that. But I realize that those thoughts are out there with a lot of people. But I've certainly been down before, and in those times where I'm down, my objective was not to stay there. When I visit there, I find, not good, and somebody or something gets me out of that. So my encouragement certainly is to continue to look for those lights at the end of the tunnel. So no, I've never thought there's not a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's kind of dim sometimes.
Yeah, so people my age, like seniors, are at a crossroad right now and may feel like down because they don't know what their future holds for them. So what advice would you give to students? I know you said that take everything as a learning experience, but what advice would you give to someone who's like contemplating going to college or in the military or in trade school?
Yeah, so I've learned that you really can't control anything, and so it is always good to have a plan, but because of what life throws at you, you cannot always execute that plan. And so when those times come, for example, when COVID hit, nobody planned for COVID and the fallout from that. When people get married, they make all these plans, they spend a lot of money, hard-earned money, and there's beautiful things that are said, but something usually at a wedding goes wrong. And so when those things happen, you should look at them in a positive way, to be comical and not be devastated by them. That's how I've learned that life is like that. Sometimes, or almost all the time, that whatever plan that you have, and it's, again, good to have a plan, something may happen that may impede the plan or slow the plan down or even make it go more quickly. Or there might be something that may change the direction of your life. And my counsel to you is that don't be devastated by that, but embrace it and see what the next door opens up as one closes.
I think I've actually had personal experience with that one. I feel like that if I take myself too seriously, then I'm just like setting myself up for failure. Like, it's good to laugh at yourself.
It's incredibly good to laugh at yourself, and it's incredibly good to laugh with others. Sometimes laughing may possibly be inappropriate in some cases, that's for sure. But, if you look at comedians, they make a joke about everything. And I don't think all those jokes are necessarily appropriate, but they make a joke about everything. And the reason is because, like you said, you could probably laugh at just about everything in some sort of way. And laughter is healthy. So it's a good thing. It's a good way to look at life.
I really love your positive outtake on the world. It's really great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's say a high school student, they want to be a mayor one day of a town. What advice would you give to them? Like what steps can they take from a high school student to becoming mayor? Sorry about that.
That was a technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever it is, if it's to be a mayor, if it's to be a civil servant, or if it's to be a professional like a doctor, a lawyer, or if it's to be a skilled tradesperson, carpenter, a plumber, electrician, I believe everything that you want to do, you should take it seriously enough to make sure that you are setting yourself up to do that. Choose the right friends. Choose the right group of people that can guide you and help you. Your teachers that you have. We used the word mentor earlier in this podcast, and find some mentors that can help you along the way. And the mentors in my counsel would be people that have been successful, at least in the arena of passionate about what it is they do. Because those types of people are often their own business owners, and if it's up to me is a saying, and those people, those men and those women, those boys and those girls can certainly be an example for you how you want to be. And specifically to be a mayor, you got to keep your nose clean. In the military, to stay in as long as I did for a career, you have to keep your nose clean. There's integrity that's on the line. If you're a civil servant, especially in this day and age, everything you do is judged, and you live in a glass house. And so be sure that when you close the door that you think you're behind closed doors, still know that your integrity and your honesty is still with you. And that's how you should be.
Earlier you were talking about your aldermen of your job, right? Mm-hmm. Do they get elected or do you hire them?
So in different cities do things differently. And for Spring Hill, we are divided into 4 wards, what we call them. There's 2 aldermen per ward and 1 mayor. So there's 9 people on the board. And all those 9 positions are elected. Within those 9, then we choose a vice mayor. So one of the aldermen becomes a vice mayor. And the election takes place, you campaign and you do those things to, hey, people vote for me, and you give your spiel. But I think the democracy even at this local level is fantastic. I fully support it. Yeah.
What traits or qualifications do you look for in your vice mayor?
I look for somebody, whether he's a he or she's a she, I look for somebody that I believe is fair and wants to do the right thing by the citizens. For everything I've done in my life, whatever my job description is, there's a mission, vision, and values statement that most companies have. Well, whatever that is, whatever company I'm with, in this case, I'm a civil servant. I serve the citizens first and foremost, regardless of what else is going on. And a lot of politicians do not take that genre. And that's why I think we have such a bad name, because they have ulterior motives or they have different reasons. But for me, I serve the citizens first, regardless of the pressures that come with this job. And so when I look for qualities in a vice mayor, I think that person should embrace that quality of serving the citizens first, but also integrity and honesty.
So what was the step or the turning point when you decided you wanted to become mayor? What did that look like, and when did you realize you had that passion, and how did you decide to do that, and how did you go about doing that?
So I was retired. My personal story is I was retired from my military career as well as my civilian career. And my son, he said, Dad, he goes, you've done so many things in your life. Why don't you run for mayor? And I said, okay. Or something. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I hadn't thought about it. And so I did. And so I went to my wife. Of our next anniversary will be our 39th.
Well, congratulations.
Anyway, thank you. I said, hey, baby, I think I'm going to run for mayor. What do you think? She said, absolutely not. I said, why not? She said, because I don't want half the people in the city to hate you on day one. And I said, well, why don't we pray about it? Because that's what we do. That's in our house. And so we prayed about it, and God seemed to open up all the doors, and I got more excited about it. And Gina, my wife, she's from the person who said no at first. She became my biggest cheerleader, and God opened the doors to be for me. Here I am as a civil servant. So it was the idea of, because my whole life I've been in some form of service. I talk about my federal service, but also in churches. I volunteer at a lot of different programs and things throughout the city and wherever it is I lived in the world.
I know earlier you were talking about your favorite part of the job is congratulating people who don't really have the spotlight. Can you tell us a story of one of those times?
Well, sometimes I don't always know that what it is I'm going to I don't necessarily always plan for it. So perhaps the day before a scheduled meeting, somebody will drop something and say, hey, Jim, I know of this citizen that that has done these great things. You want to say something about them. And so that happens actually quite often. So I love those things that are kind of surprises and not planned for. So you got to make the airplane hour and wing it. Kind of what I'm doing now. That's a joke. Anyways, but there was one time when I got invited to go to, and this was the morning of, there was a gentleman who turned 100 years old in one of our assisted living facilities here in Spring Hill. I'm sorry, not a gentleman, a lady who turned 100 years old. And they said, hey, let's ask the mayor to come and say happy birthday to this resident. And so absolutely. But this particular resident, when I walked into her room, her living quarters, she had pictures on the wall of her meeting with presidents, different presidents, as well as all kinds of ribbons. And I came to learn, and I went to sit down next to her in a chair. I gave her a hug and said, happy birthday. And she told me the story. She used to be what's called a Navajo talker. And she would, back in the day of World War II, she broke codes that helped the United States be successful in that campaign. And so things like that, to be invited to spread some love to people, in this case, a lady who turned 100 years old, and it was really awesome.
Have you met anyone that like from your experience that like they really inspired you and like made you change the way you've lived your life?
Absolutely. Through my life, I've had all kinds of mentors, different college professors. That's pretty standard. I didn't play sports in high school or college, but I did do extracurricular sports. And so when I was, I did gymnastics, and I did. I was a captain. I eventually became captain of the Riot Squad in my high school. And the Riot Squad is, I think where the guys they usually have the cheerleaders, and they throw them around. They build pyramids and do flips and stuff throughout. Go. And in my case, it was Roosevelt. Go Teddies. But there was a particular, before I was elevated to captain. The previous captain, I was a junior at the time, and he was a senior. He was a mentor to me because he taught me a lot about leadership and respect for people, especially back in my day. If you were a guy and you're not a football player, there's some bad karma that comes with that. Usually, a lot of teasing and things. And so he helped me realize that, hey, regardless of what you have a passion for, you can still be successful, still like it, and help defray the negative things that come your way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I could go on story and story of people that have been influential mentorship in my life. But of course, for me, it's Jesus.
Mm-hmm. You sound like very passionate about Spring Hill and invested in Spring Hill. So how would you encourage other people to become invested in Spring Hill and what we have here? So
yeah, there's a lot of things great about this city. I've lived here, my family and I have lived here the last 24 years when I retired from the Air Force. And we talked about different opportunities to take advantage of them. Well, we have all kinds of committees and commissions that people can serve on. They volunteer to serve on and give input. And then there are different citizens groups that form, and they give input on how the city should go. Sometimes somebody will come to me and they'll say, hey, Mayor, we're interested in this, and I will form a task force just to whatever it is, if they had a great idea, so that they can citizen input to help drive the direction of the city. And so they can be involved in that. There's other ways that, we have some nonprofits in the city that you can do some volunteer work, and you can be involved in that in the name of the city, and it's really, really awesome. There's also, if you are older being 18 and you're in college, we always have internships in different fields throughout the city. You can become involved in that. Yeah.
So talk about moving forward with the city. Do you have a specific direction? Do you think when does your term end, and are you going to run again, or what is that what do your goals look like?
So all of the mayor and the alderman terms, they all are 4-year terms. Mm-hmm. I became mayor 3.5 years ago. The next election is in April of 25, and that will be at my 4-year mark. So I've not announced this yet. I've iterated it to a few people, but I do plan on running for mayor again because I love it. I love to serve the city of Spring Hill, and it's going really well right now. The direction that I set out on my platform was basically to change the trajectory and be respectful of the people, and that's going really well right now. So, it's great. I love being a civil servant. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad, while you were mayor, we've all experienced, growth in Spring Hill, Buckner's expanding. So can you, tell us about, your plan for growth, or, how the plan for growth, impacted you in your term for mayor?
So, yeah, with regards to growth, part of my platform was to change the trajectory. I said this, to change the trajectory of how Spring Hill is going right now. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, it was not going in the way that I wanted to, so I wanted to affect that and change that and turn it into what I call responsible growth. Our book calls it smart growth, but responsible growth. So I am not against growth at all, but I am against, and I'm hard against, If it is not responsible growth, if the citizens do not win first, I do not support it. So through my short career as the mayor, there have been many times where developers and others have come to me and they would present a plan and say, hey, Mayor, we want to build a subdivision or we want to build a strip mall. What do you think? And I'll see their plan. And at the end of it, I often have said, I'm sorry, sir or ma'am, I do not support it. And they say, why not? I said, because my citizens don't win for this. The issues that we have right now, your plan contributes to those issues instead of mitigates those issues. So and they ask me, well, what can I do to make that change? And I'll explain to them what they can do. Always saying that I am not against growth. I'm just against growth that adds to the problems that we have. And so if you are a person that wants to develop in Spring Hill and build in Spring Hill and you're not willing to serve whatever it is to make the citizens win first, you're out. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else like advice you'd want to give to high school students that are listening?
So yeah, I'll just reiterate this if this hasn't come through. High schoolers and parents of high schoolers, you guys have the world at your feet. I totally believe in you. And I've served in youth groups. I've served as youth group leaders for years, decades, and I have come to learn. I goof around with the boys and girls clubs right now. I'm a Tennessee mentor, Tennessee Achieves mentor. And one common thing that everybody has in high school certainly is, well, I'm not necessarily certain what I'm going to do the rest of my life. And that is okay because you're only 17 and 18 years old. The fact that you have a plan that you want to do something is a good thing. And like I said earlier in the podcast, it's okay if that plan changes. And sometimes, certainly, it'll change because you didn't foresee that coming. But my counsel to you, my re-encouragement to you is that you got this. You follow those positive things in your life, the things people do positive, and then realize also that whatever confidence and whatever you put a person or people to, you send them to, like a sports figure or a sports team or an entertainer, that person is only human as well. So that person is going to possibly let you down at some point, but learn from that. Go out there and tackle the world because you got this. I believe in you super strongly, and I am truly thankful that I get to be in a position where I can, I'm sitting here doing a podcast right now that I can talk to you and, spread some love. And so...
We're so grateful you were able to come on, and we're so lucky to have such a people-focused mayor in Spring Hill.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much, and yes, I am, and I believe in you guys. I believe in all the youth. You got this.
Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for watching this episode of Career Conversations. Please check out our other episodes and follow us on Instagram. And if you have a guest I'd like to come on, email us at futureforwards1@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.